If you understand what I will be talking here today, you will be one of the most advanced human beings to ever live. This is one of those type of insights and wisdom. And of course, when I mean when I say understand, I am not only referring to intellectual understanding. That is just one part of it, but it's not the whole. I really mean to understand it intellectually, but also emotionally, spiritually, and very, very important, pragmatically, in the sense that if you apply this information that you will be learning today in your life, if you make drastic changes in the way that you behave, in your values, in your approximations, in your iterations, you will be so advanced. Actually, you will help humanity or humankind to become more sophisticated, more lovable, more compassionate. We can call that more integrated. So, yes, this wisdom that you are about to acquire will put some weight in your shoulders. Now you need to become more responsible with more dexterity in your personal development, in your spiritual action and realization. And well, before we move forward, I just want to mention that this episode requires extreme open mindedness. And not only your mind needs to be open, but also your heart. Most importantly, your heart. Because your mind, yes, you will have a little bit of your moral system trying to deny the information that I will propose, and you will have a little bit of your moral system trying to sabotage your whole growth, because what you will learn today is the contrary of what culture has been brainwashing you for your whole life, probably. But you will be able to work around that. I mean, if you watch personal development content, you are accustomed to engaging with radical ideas, right? You are used to that, with ideas that are out of the norm, and you digest them and you apply them. So maybe that intellectual resistance, moral resistance, maybe this will not be terrible for you or hard to do, but your heart openness, this is a new thing. Maybe not always you need to embrace this heart, whole heart opening. And that basically means that I need you to open your emotions, your intuition, your spiritual capacity, not only the intellectual frameworks during this profound study and conversation. And it all starts with one question, basically. And this is the question that brings forth everything else. If reality accepts itself completely, why don't you? I feel very grateful of being doing this podcast today because this has been in my agenda for a while now, and finally I'm realizing it with you guys. This idea that I will present today, I already did like a 1 minute video about it, those kind of shorts, TikTok kind of format. Then I did like a 3 or 4, maybe 5 minutes video on my YouTube. I think that that was on Spanish as well, about the idea, but I didn't give too much details. But then I said, damn, this idea is so fascinating, it's so profound that I need to do a detailed version on it in the podcast, and this one will be on English. So that's in that way I can cover more audience in the long term and also impact more lives. And I don't know what other effects this might cause in the world, because every small effect can cause a big act, a big result. We can call that the butterfly effect. So yeah, that is the story behind this episode. This is the 505 episode of the Mastermind Podcast Challenge Season 2 with your host, Dr. Derek Israel. And before we continue forward, go to the description and click the link for our exclusive Telegram group. If you are enjoying this podcast, we are reuniting in that Telegram private group just to support our collective personal growth. So if you're a conscious man in or woman or intersexual that you want to be part of a community of personal development, go to my Telegram group and join us. We will be doing this for the next 9 months. So it's a temporary thing, but maybe you can enjoy it. So all right. So, what is the subject? Let's go right into it. Prepare your mind, man. Prepare your mind. So, today we're going to discuss about what I call universal acceptance. Universal acceptance. And basically, this is the ultimate form of acceptance that exists in the universe. And of course, it includes self acceptance, the acceptance of yourself. But notice how the acceptance of yourself is just like a partial acceptance, because maybe you accept yourself completely. And I have done some videos and podcasts about acceptance in the past, but most of them were concentrated in self acceptance, accepting the parts of you that you don't like, accepting a little bit of your shadow, accepting some of your quote unquote errors or defects. But then I realized, well, I can accept I can accept myself completely, but that doesn't mean that I accept rape. I can accept myself completely, but that doesn't mean that I accept murder, assassinations, corruption, things that bothers me, things that bother all of us. Actually, they are very nasty things. So then I realized, well, self-acceptance is just half of the way. We should continue going in this spiritual work and accept everything. So then I realized an insight. It's a very powerful insight that you can corroborate. I don't know, that is you can confirm is maybe another word that I can use. You can confirm, you can validate, you can get direct experience of this insight if you do a lot of meditation, yoga, shadow work, psychological integration, bioenergetics, all the techniques that I basically teach you in this mastermind podcast. If you conduct those techniques and other techniques that maybe you learn by your own, but that are um, in a constellation with personal development, you can have this insight by yourself. And the insight is that at the end of the day, everything is love. That is the ultimate substance of the universe. It sounds weird and it sounds new agey and it sounds utopic. I know. I know. I used to think that way also. But that is. And it's not romantic love, though. It is just love with capital L. A love that is indistinct of consciousness, intelligence, infinite creativity, God essence, God compassion, God creation, the art of life. So that is the ultimate substance that obviously is an infinite variant substance in that, with that I mean that it can become infinite form because it doesn't have any specific form. That's why it's the substance of all. And that substance of all that we can call definitely love. Well, that substance of all accepts itself completely. And this is the core idea of our work today. The universe, look around, boy, look around. The universe accepts itself totally, totally. The universe do not reject itself in any of its parts because the infrastructure, the most primal and essential element of the universe is by definition love. So it's impossible that the universe do not love itself. And if the universe love itself completely, that means that accepts itself completely because you cannot love what you don't accept. And you need to accept this truth if you want to proceed further with this idea of today. Now, I don't like to tell people you need to accept this truth because then how I am different from Christianity or from Buddhism or for any other paradigm that tries to convince you of this objective truth that you need to believe. Well, just let me say this. At least believe it for the next hour, just for you to be open to explore the ideas that I will present. After this, don't discard it, but also do not believe me. After this podcast, go and experience by yourself if this is true or not. After this podcast, go and do meditation, read some books about love, read some books about acceptance, read some books about compassion, do a lot of yoga, do a lot of breathing exercises that can purify your mind, go to therapy, do stuff that will make you more aware into the substance of reality, into the spiritual aspect of reality, and then you will understand by yourself. And maybe you find another truth. I don't know. This is the only, I found this. I learned this and I am applying this in my life. I'm just suggesting that this may be also a truth in your universe. So it's your duty to actualize it, you know. So this idea that the universe loves itself needs to become personal in your life. This cannot be only an idea of the universe, because you are the universe. You are made of the universe. You are not separated in any form of the universe. There is no boundary in between where you start and when the universe start. Like, what is the boundary? The skin. The skin cannot be the boundary. The skin is permeable. The skin is fluid. The skin is always changing. The skin is made of atoms that are made of subparticles that are made of energy, that are made of waves, of potential. There's nothing in your skin that separates you from the universe. Only in a macro perspective, you can perceive wrongly that you're separated, but in a whole perspective, there's no separation. So you, by definition, are the universe. So if the universe accepts itself completely because love itself completely, then this is your right as a human being slash AKA universe. This is your right. What else you will do? The fact that you are rejecting aspects of yourself or aspects of reality, this is a mistake, aberration. How do I pronounce this word that I'm looking? Let me search real quick. Abbreviation. Anyways, this is a shortening. This is a reduction. This is a abbreviation. I'm trying to say a specific word. After this podcast, I will go to listen to that word just to put it in my vocabulary. Abbreviation. Maybe I'm saying it correctly. Yes, this is a reduction of the potential of the universe if you are rejecting any part of the universe. And maybe you are one of those scientific minded that needs definition for variables. And maybe you are asking, but Derek, what do you say? What is love in this definition, this philosophical construction that you are working here? What is the definition of love? Well, it's an incessant or relentless drive for union, as simple as that, to become whole again. That is love. And that is also the mechanism of evolution. But for that, I will do another episode on evolution in the future. So stay tuned to the podcast. So the universe is separated, right? Because we can interact with the universe in a sense, is separated in a superficial sense, but it's always trying to become whole again. And that process we call love. And obviously, you cannot unite with things that you reject. So that's why we call this universal acceptance, because the universe accepts itself universally. And that's also why I call it the high form or degree of integration, because when you accept everything, You integrate with everything, and you can achieve what Dr. Carl Jung used to conceptualize as an individualization or individuation. And the individuation means when you finally become the whole individual with all your capacities, with all your perks, traits, potential, emotions, thoughts, creativity, understanding, wisdom, archetypal potency. But becoming an individual is just one part of the scheme. The other part is transcending the individual and becoming the universe, becoming what we can call the universal man or woman. That is the next stage. That is the next consciousness evolution. That is what you are striving for when you are doing this personal development work, this psychological engineering type of work. You are jumping towards the all in this type of work. So, now that you know what it's all about in universal acceptance, then why is this practical for your life? So now let's go with some of the pragmatical aspects of this episode. So now I could come here and say, well, here's some of the facts that you need to understand in order to grasp the universal acceptance. And then I can say maybe, so the universe accepts itself because accepts sex, for example, beautiful sex. So the fact that you can have beautiful sex with your wife, that is proof right there that the universe accepts itself, because if not, why the universe will permit that sex exists in the first place if it doesn't accept that perk, that trait of itself? But that is not controversial at all because most of us enjoy sex. And I can say that with good food, eating good food, or traveling, right? Or giving a kiss, or raising your children in a very lovable home. All of those things are true. They exist. Therefore, they are a reflection of the universal acceptance based on love. But at the end of the day, they are so good that we accept them already. We don't have any problem with them. You don't have any problem, probably, with accepting the fact that flowers are beautiful, that music is awesome. You don't have any problem at all accepting that being kind to another human being in the ordinary life is a good thing to do, right? You don't have problems with that. So that is not what I will be focusing my efforts today. I will be focusing more in controversial subjects, because sometimes human beings will learn by contrast and we learn by pain. So I want to attack the most painful aspects of humankind that are also part of the universal acceptance, that are also part of the universal love, but that they do not necessarily are widely accepted, or probably you don't accept them fully. And that's why I think that they will represent a good direction for your personal development work, for your own integration. So I will go directly for the worst things of the universe that I could imagine. And I Google a little bit of the worst problems of the world right now just to have a more macro perspective. But it's they were, Google said to me the same that I was thinking, because these are so common problems that if we start by accepting this as part of the universe, as part of love, everything else will fall on place, and you will be ready to be a universal, lovable, integrated, pragmatic human being. All right. So I hope that you are ready. So let's start by understanding that the universe accepts completely war. War. And I am going to be doing a specific episode this week. I think it will be Thursday. That is called What is the Nature of War? And definitely you don't want to miss that out. And also you can search it in my YouTube channel if you find this information valuable. What is the nature of war? Dr. Derek Israel. But war is a hard truth to swallow. Although we have been warriors for our entire history, there is no epoch or time in human history in which we are not in a certain type of war. Now, not every country have war all the time, and some countries has been more effective in preventing war than others, but in a certain terrain in earth, forever, always we have been having tribal wars or international wars, or empires conquering, doing imperialism by violence, through violence, or civil wars, revolutions. How do you call this? Cybernetic wars, biological wars, nuclear wars, sadly. And we can expect more of that in the future. Now, the hard truth to swallow is that if you want to become integrated, you need to accept, and not only to accept, but to love war. And this is so difficult to do. You see those photos of children dying in Syria, or those old people dying, or young men, women, children, everyone dying in Ukraine, and also Russian soldiers right now dying in that war, and also United States in Iraq or Afghanistan, and Iraqi people dying, and Israel, Palestine, I don't know, Colombia, Venezuela, so many countries that have internal conflicts or international conflicts. And you see that, and it's so sad, right? It's so sad. And you want to do something, you want to say something, you want to express. But notice, when you are trying to push that agenda of your peace, your peace agenda, what actually are you doing there? You are rejecting war. You are rejecting war metaphysically. And from that rejection, you are trying to change their conditions. But that is not effective. You cannot change something really if you don't accept it first. Because you are trying to change from resistance, not from no resistance. That is the most important teaching of judo, non resistance. And this do not mean that I am asking you to be passive and to not speak up and to not try actively to change things in the world, including war. Yes, go and try. Do policies. Become a politician if you want, and if you consider it's your life purpose, become a politician. Try to develop better policies for countries. Become maybe an army officer, an army officer that maybe you can work inside the military system to prevent war, to become more diplomatic, more communicative with other countries or within your country. You can become an activist, you can become an influencer like I'm doing now, and try to express your opinion to sophisticate some minds. Do that, definitely, but from a place of acceptance and love, not from a place of resistance and hate. Because war exists for a reason. It's not all bad. Technological developments are so more quick and rapid during times of war than in other times. War promotes technological innovation, technological revolution, social revolution, social dynamics, social changes, cultural modifications, politics modifications. War structures the world in different configurations, sometimes more integrated than before, more globalized. Now, this is just the positive aspect of war, but we have a lot of negative. We have deaths, destruction, poverty, problems with inflation, but that is also part of it. So you need to embrace all in your love. So one good exercise that you can do to work with this in war is now we are all seeing in social media, in the news, the war of Russia versus the Ukraines. Every time that you read one of them, one of those news, or a show in the television that is talking about it, practice unconditional acceptance in that moment. So maybe you are seeing a video of a tank shooting at a hospital and thousands of people are dying in that video. Instead of becoming, instead of reject or to become very mad about it or to start to say, oh my gosh, yes, do that, but also do something like, I accept this and I love. That's it. And you're not saying I love because you love the fact that people are dying. You only say I love because you love. You love if people are dying. You love if people is born. You love if people is getting sick. You love if people is happy. You love if people are creating art. It doesn't matter if it exists in the universe. It is accepted by the universe. The universe didn't cancel it. The universe only accepts itself. What else can it do? At the end of the day, existence is just the universe playing with itself. We, as human beings, we design morality. And we say this is bad, this is good, this is acceptable, this is not. But this is just a construction. This is a structure in our mind. It's not the universe, although the universe accepts morality. But we cannot reduce the universe to morality. Notice, if in a very far planet, an unknown planet for us right now, another species completely eradicates itself with a nuclear war, for example, is that bad for the universe or good? Well, it's only bad if you, as a perceiver, perceive that story, and if you put it through a moral system that is very archaic and very simple in the good and bad attributions, and then you say, oh, that is very bad. But notice, for that bad to exist, that notion of badness to exist, first you need to perceive it, you need to know that thing, and also you need to put it through a lens of morality, of a very specific morality, although, because morality, you can engineer morality whatever you want, but you selected that type of morality, mostly because your culture, this is the morality of your culture. So it's not entirely your fault until now. Now you know better. Now you know that you have a social, moral, psychological, spiritual responsibility of self-engineer your own morality to accept all as a universal acceptance, because you are following the footprints of the universe. So for the universe, the fact that aliens blow themselves in a far away planet is totally okay. The universe accept that and love that until you put it through your own systems of morality. So now apply that to Earth and to humans and to wars here on Earth. It's the same. It's the same. Second controversial truth, that we should love more to become universal acceptance. And this is a very common one: domestic violence and child abuse. And I put it in the same because both happen a lot in homes, behind closed doors. There's nothing more sad than to see a woman or a man that are so abused in their house, and they then adopt this victim mindset, this victim psychology that lock them in that cycle forever sometimes. And we as a psychologists, we do all that we can to open this victim eyes and say to them, hey, you are in a cycle of domestic violence. We need to do a plan. You need to leave that relationship. And it's very sad to see that most of them, they never leave the relationship. They accept the relationship, but not spiritually. Maybe you say, oh, well, they are more advanced, Derek, because they accepted. They accepted that they will be punished by their husband or by their wife. So they are more advanced. No, they accepted their condition, probably with due to low self-esteem. That is not spiritual or universal acceptance. Because if they were spiritual enough, advanced enough, they will accept that. But also they will accept, they will accept that they are in that situation, but they will also accept that is in their best interest to leave that relationship, and they will accept the pain that comes from leaving a perpetrator of violence that sometimes you are very attached to, that sometimes is the economical provider, that sometimes is the only thing that you have in your life. But you need to accept that although he's everything for you, you need to leave him forever and to drastically transform your own identity and to enroll in a healing process that will be demanding and will demand the best of you. That is a more universal acceptance than just accepting the problem. It is accepting the problem and accepting the solution of the problem. That is universal acceptance. Not only the solution, also, and discarding the problem, because that is just partial acceptance. The same with child abuse. Child abuse is difficult one to swallow. I remember when I was working in as a practicant, as a practitioner in one of the Puerto Rico in a home, in an orphanate, in an orphan place, in a home for kids that didn't have caretakers, primary caretakers, or they were there, and it was very tough for me to be able to work with them just for the compassion that I was having. Seeing those beautiful children, they were the best children in the world, and seeing them so happy sometimes, laughing and running and jumping. But then when I went to the papers, when I went to the files and I read their stories and I read the sexual abuse and I read the abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse in home, and that's why they were removed and put in that place. And then I read all those horrific things. It took a while. It took a while for me to grow enough to be able to do that work effectively without being significantly contaminated with the pain, because I am a human being and we have empathy, right? So we can feel those things. But one day I just decided, hey, the universe accepts abuse completely. This is the final answer to the question why God permits this. I was talking with my father a couple of days ago, and he's writing a book in which he's a writer and he's about to publish soon. And for the first time, he has been writing for more than, I don't know, like 50 years. Crazy. He has been writing since 10 years old. And one of his new books that he's writing, the central subject is why God let bad things happen. He's in that type of undertaking that journey, that path of discovery. And for me, the answer for that question, why God let rape happen, why God let murder happen, is because God accept itself completely. So God accept the child abuse completely. The universe accepted, and it's not pointing at it as a bad thing. You are pointing at it as a bad thing. You, as a human and moral being, but not the universe. Notice that. And let love fill your body and your heart during this episode. Breathe deeply. Try to understand this in a deep level. So let's go with another one that is very hard to swallow: rape and sexual molestation. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So I already have told you this before in my podcast, but when I used to work in Colorado corrections, I had to work with a lot of pedophiles as my patients. And again, I experience counter transference, that is emotions towards my patients when they were describing their crime, or when I was reading their file, or when I was just working with them. I knew that they raped a child, sometimes a child with the same age of my own daughter. So that was a tough one. But then I remember this truth about the universe accepting itself, and I love them. I love them through my work, through my psychotherapy, because I knew that when I was looking to the eyes of a pedophile, I was looking to the eyes of the universe. As harsh, hostile, nasty as that can sound, but it's the truth. The universe didn't stop the sexual molestation. Why? Because it accepts itself completely. The universe is sexual molestation. The universe is everything. It's every possibility. Because if that possibility it is not part of the universe, then it doesn't exist. In reality, everything exists in reality. If it doesn't exist in reality, it doesn't exist. So if it exists, then it has already been accepted by it. So if you suffer sexual molestation, if you suffer rape, this will be life transforming for you. This may be the answer to heal your trauma. I always say, people sometimes do not believe me, but I think that self compassion, that is basically love in action, compassion is love in action. Self compassion for me is the essential ingredient to heal trauma. That's what I believe. And I always treat my patients not always, but in a lot of cases, if it is clinically necessary, I will treat my patients with compassion techniques to heal some trauma. So effective. So practice self compassion and practice compassion for the perpetrator as well. Because sometimes we demonize a human being for just one action. So I had a lot of patients that were how do you say them, rapists in the corrections. They were not necessarily pedophiles. They were rapists of people that were not underage, and maybe they were serving, I don't know, 20 years. Some of them were serving for life. And more than the rape, there is a human being behind. More than the mistake, there is a human being behind, folks. That is what we need to understand. We like to throw people in prisons and we forget about them because they represent like a burden for society. And we think that we are so sophisticated because at the end of the day, Derek, we are paying for them. We are paying taxes that give them food, give them shelter. Although they broke the society norms, we are taking care of them. So we are a good society. And in a way, yes, we are good in that sense, but we can do better. Like sending people to a hole, although you are nurturing them by paying taxes, that is not a sustainable remedy. That is not advanced at all. Well, it's more advanced than just executing them as we used to do when we were in a tribal structure, social structure. But yeah, we can do better because they are more than their crimes. So I got to know and I met some people that were fascinating, amazing, extraordinary, very intelligent folks. And that yes, they had a rape case in their file. But there is just only one thing. But they are also artists. They are also believers. They are also good communicators. They are more than a crime. And this is the basis of universal acceptance, understanding these things, these multiple variables that always encompass every phenomenon in existence. Another problem that we try to deny, but at the end of the day, the universe just accepted is racism. It's a very current problem in the world. Yes, we have evolved a little bit. We have less than yesterday, but we have still. And I suffered racism in the first hand. I suffered it in Colorado a couple of times. So going back to the prison thing, I suffered, I think, like let's say 90% of the racism that I suffer for being Hispanic in United States, I suffered from the general population instead of people in prisons. Prisoners, offenders, sometimes they were part of white supremacist security threats groups, that means gangs, and they work with me just fine. Just fine. I never, never, not once in a whole year experienced a direct racism from an offender. Never. And I work with white, Hispanic, black, Asian, a lot of diversity. But I suffer racism with some of the staff in that correction. And I suffer racism with people in the normal society, like in restaurants or in a park, for example, because when they hear my accent or when they hear my family talking Spanish, we suffer. They perpetuate racism. Not big deals, like not like a direct attack, but small things that you know that they are racist. And the universe accept completely racism. It's crazy, huh? It's crazy. But that is a fact. And if you want to eradicate it, well, let's start by loving it. And I can say that with proud because I am not a victim of racism because I don't choose to be a victim, but I am from a race that has been discriminated for a long, long time. So if I was a white supremacist or a white man, I will be more conservative in what I am saying because I will be in a position of privilege, right? But I am not in a position of privilege saying this. Well, yes, I'm a doctor, blah blah blah. Yes, I have some privilege. But in the racist or in the race thing, I have no privilege. I am a Hispanic Puerto Rican boy raised on a rural place surrounded by cows, horses, cats, dogs, chicken. I cannot come from a more humble place. Well, I can come from a more humble place, but you get what I say. And I can come from a very horrific, poor kind of India place, but I came from a humble place, but not that poor, right? But yeah, I can say it. And an Hispanic that has suffered racism, is saying to you, accept it, love it, because the universe accept it and love it, and then do some systemic actions to prevent it. But just then, so don't confuse this with being passive. I want you to be a leader and I want you to attack these problems head on if you have the capacity and the desire to transform the world with in this dimension. Do it, but do it loving, not hating. I told you it was going to be a deep episode. Another problem that the universe accepts completely is systemic poverty. Very sad, yes. Unfair, yes. Very unfair. A global problem? Yes, a global problem. We have it in America, we have it in Africa, we have it in China, we have it in Asia, we have it in Russia, we have it in every place. And the universe, what I will say, just say it with me. The universe accepted completely. Completely. I remember when I was in India and I was walking in some of the villages and I saw the children eating trash. Like they were living in houses made of, I don't know, like boxes, like boxes and very raw materials, structures that a strong wine can break easily. And there were communities living in those material conditions, and people were eating. I don't know what they were eating, man. Like I don't know. They were picking some things of the of the floor, eating that, and that was poverty, man. That was the worst human condition that I have seen in my life. And the universe just accepted, man. And if you don't believe me, go to Africa, go to India, go to China, go to um, Haiti, go to a place that poverty is very present and sit there with them and just ask the universe, do you accept this or not? And you will have your answer. Now you will see some real interesting things in poverty. For example, you will see the bigger smiles in the world comes from poor people sometimes, or the most intense laugh come from those type of people, and the dancing, and the sometimes you can see real happiness in poverty, and that's crazy as hell, right? Because how you will be happy if you're so poor? Well, because maybe being poor is just part of life, and the universe accept that, and people can live being poor and they can be happy. Now, is that the ideal condition? No, of course, no. We are having a very erratic resource distribution globally, and we all know that. This is a current problem, and it has been like this forever. Now, we have less poverty than before, and we are getting better. Let's say the truth. A lot of people are just pushing the buttons of your negative bias, and it's always trying to tell you that the world is very bad, 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 because that stimulates your um, amygdala, the fear organ that you have in your brain, and then you are like, oh my gosh, we live in a very bad world. No, we are living in a better world than yesterday. That doesn't mean that we don't have a lot of work to do. Yes, we have to allocate better resources. Yes, we need to decentralize richness to all. But hey, at the end of the day, there are like economical, political, kind of geopolitical, industrial topics that I will not cover here because I don't have all the answers. And also, I don't have all the time to cover all of those. And also, I don't know how to solve everything in those aspects. But what I know and what I have experienced is that by accepting poverty, I can relate better to it and I can help better poor people. Universal acceptance. That's what I know. And that's what I am trying to promote here. Another hard truth to swallow is sickness. Uh, let's say physical sickness and death. Yeah, the universe accept every sickness. Do you think that the universe, so let's think about it in a more holistic way. Do you really think that the universe reject COVID-19? What do you think? Do you think that God is very angry for the fact that we suffered COVID-19 as a pandemic? And I say we suffer because although we are struggling, but finally we are like seeing the light with COVID-19. We are like, I hope, getting out of that pandemic state. I hope. I don't know. I'm not an expert, but at least that is what I'm reading, that we are finally achieving some significant results in our health, collective health, in relation to COVID. But hey, at the end of the day, the universe accepted COVID completely. That's why it is here. Now, that means that you don't need to get vaccinated? No, that is another subject. You will decide. You have your own choice. At least for now. We never know if they will mandate vaccination. I don't know. That can happen. Some countries have done it. Like Puerto Rico is mandatory if you want to work, if you want to do a lot of things. Like every country will be different, though. But that is another subject. If this is a fault of the Chinese people, this is a fault of the American people, if this was made on a laboratory, if this was made by eating weird things, I don't know. Who cares? Well, we need to care. Yes, we need to care. We need to care because we need to prevent it. But at the end of the day, who cares? The fact is that the pandemic is here, has killed, I don't know how many, thousands, maybe millions of people. And the universe accept completely this pandemic. The universe accepts completely your own death. I know it's always hard to be diagnosed with a sickness like a heart disease or hypertension or diabetes, whatever. But hey, always remember you will be diagnosed one day with a certain thing. Remember to practice this universal acceptance as well with yourself and with your own death. I'm always thinking in my death, if I have the privilege to have a deathbed, and with that I mean like a process of death, not only like a car accident, like you are gone, but a process of systematically dying. I always think that I will be practicing completely surrenderness and acceptance and compassion in my deathbed. Because how the hell am I gonna die then if I am not doing that? I'm gonna die paranoid and scared and focus on my limbic brain that wants to continue because it wants to transmit more genes biologically, right? So yeah, this is amazing. This technique of self-compassion, love, practice it. Another problem that the universe just accept and love is environmental degradation. Tough one, tough one, tough one. And this one can obviously, with the same of war, as the same of war, nuclear war, we can eradicate our own selves, humankind, with this problem. Now, do you think that the universe will actually care if the earth is gone one day or if the humans disappear? Do you think that the universe will reject that? Do you think that the universe will say, oh, no, 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 no? Like, millions of stars die every day in the whole multi-universe. But Earth, that small planet in the Milky Way galaxy, no, that planet and its people, those humans, they are called, yeah, humans, yes, those people, they cannot disappear. They definitely cannot die. Do you think that the universe thinks that way? No, probably doesn't care too much, just accepts itself completely. Now, that doesn't mean that now you are going to throw trash in a park because you're going to say, Dr. Derek Israel told me that the universe accepts itself completely. So that's why take this bag of trash. And you're going to throw it in the middle of a park, natural park. Because one, you're probably going to get arrested. And two, that is a very stupid thing to do. No, this means that, hey, I have been cleaning beaches. I have been doing environmental work for a long time now, specifically with my fraternity Phi Epsilon Chi 1943 in Puerto Rico. We are a nonprofit organization that we do a lot of benefic work, like philanthropic work. And one of the things that we always do is going to beaches and cleaning them and stuff like that. So I accept contamination and environmental degradation completely, and I love it because the universe love it, but that doesn't mean that I will not channel that love into solution, but channeling the love, not channeling the hate. So two more to go. Ah, man, this is another one. The universe accept itself completely, what I call singularity of mind. And now, this term, I will be doing podcast in the future about it. I will be writing a book about it, and I already wrote my doctoral dissertation about it. This is a term that I invented with help of my mentor. In He used to be my mentor in my doctoral dissertation, Dr. Caleb Steban. He helped me a lot to organize my ideas. So a shout out for him. And I invented this term that I call singularity of mind, that basically I will not go into details of what this is, but I will just go with more details as the common term for it, that is psychopathologies. The universe accepts all psychopathologies, all mental health problems. The universe accepts the psychopath. The universe accepts the sociopath, the schizophrenic, the autist, the bipolar, the depressed, the anxious, the obsessive, the borderline, the psychotic, the pathological liar, the sexual deviant, the addict. You just accept. Now we have this tendency of demonizing certain people for having certain traits in their mind. Like we demonize psychopaths a lot. And I have been fighting that lately after getting to know and working face to face with a lot of psychopaths in corrections. They are perfect? No. They can evolve? Definitely. They are bad as hell? No. We should reject them? No. The universe reject them? No, you know, but we demonize them. We think that psychopath is synonym with serial killers, and they are not. So it is for us very easy. Look how our moral works. How hypocrite is our morality. It's for us very easy to love the depressed. Oh man, he's so depressed. We need to help him. We need to make him feel happy, right? We feel that for the depressed, but we don't feel that for the schizophrenic that is talking to himself, in front of Walgreens when you are about to enter the pharmacy, or when you are about to enter into a shopping mall or whatever store, that you see sometimes a homeless woman or a homeless man screaming at himself, clearly having a mental health problem, probably psychotic, maybe substance induced, maybe organic, I don't know, but probably psychotic. And we don't say, oh my gosh, we should help him. We don't say that. We ignore them, we are afraid of them, and we tell our children, you don't want to become that. If you don't go to college, if you don't study, look at your future. But we don't say that with the depressed. What we say to our children of the depressed, oh man, that is normal. Depression is one of the most, pandemic, it's the most pandemical sickness of the world right now. And it's so important for you to express your emotions, because in that way you will not become depressed, so it's important for you. So that's what we tell people, our children, about depression. But what we tell about psychopathy, what we tell about schizophrenia, what we tell about mania or bipolar, when the universe, aka God, aka existence, aka the fabric of life, accepts every singular mind, every unique mind, every diverse mind completely, totally, and it loves them. And it loves them. And in case that you're wondering, yes, this is shadow work at its best. And in the future, so that's why it's so important for you to stay tuned to the Mastermind Podcast Challenge, because in the future I will be doing the archetype of the shadow, an episode specifically on this archetype. I have talked about it before, but now I will be doing like a official episode of the archetype in the archetypes mini series that I do here. I have covered, the lover, I have covered the warrior, I have covered the king, some Spanish, most of them in Spanish, but now I will be covering a lot of them in English, just trying to be bilingual and impacting better, more people. And I will be doing an episode about the archetype of the shadow, but also another episode apart that it will be called shadow work. So those are two different episodes that I will be covering more in detail this part. But for now, I think that you understand the point. Accept the singularity of mind. Accept mental health stuff. And the final that I will be discussing here, but by no means these are the only problems in the world. By no means. These are just a few of them. is bullying and coordinated humiliation. Bullying and coordinated humiliation. And this about bullying and coordinated humiliation. Hey, we talk a lot about this in the context of schools, because obviously this affects our children, our youth, but this happen a lot in workforce, in the work setting, and we don't talk a lot about it in this type of setting. So yeah, a lot of colleagues bully other colleagues, and they create coordinated humiliation. So for you to understand what is a coordinated humiliation, I just want you to see this movie. If you haven't seen it, it is called Carrie, and it's by Stephen King. He's the writer of the novel, and that novel is has been made like a movie for like, I don't know, maybe 4 times in different times. So it's a very common movie. It's about this girl that has psychic powers, and her mother is like a crazy ass dogmatic Catholic. I don't know if she's Catholic, but like a Christian that is very dogmatic. And her mother thinks that her child is demonic or diabolical due to her powers. And a lot of her colleagues, the colleagues of the girl in their school, bully her. And I don't want to do a spoiler, but I will do it anyways. In the final part of the movie, they were in the prom, right? They were in the last stage of their high school, in the party. And the bully, they coordinate a humiliation for this girl. And they throw, when she was talking in the microphone receiving an award, I think, if I remember well, they throw blood from the roof. I think it was blood of a pig towards her in front of everyone. And then something happened, I will not tell you, but that is a coordinated humiliation where people literally coordinate how to bully you. And that exists. And hey, I have endorsed that. I have done this before. I have been a bully, and I have been bullied. I have been both. And I think that we all are kind of both. But this is not an episode about bullying, although I may do one in the future. This is an episode about acceptance. What do you think? Do you think that universe reject the fact that a little kid right now, in this moment that you are seeing this, a little kid somewhere in the world is right now being coordinated, humiliated, right now, bullied as hell, right now. There's some bully right now punching to a little girl face right now, right now. Do you think that the universe do not accept that? Do you think that the universe do not love that? Well, I think that you already have the answer. You have been with me almost two hours now. You already have the answer. All right, folks. Yeah, this was a tough one to do. When I bring this subject about acceptance and shadow stuff, for me, it's always very tough to do it because I need to digest a lot in this episode. And before this episode, I was struggling so much just thinking about the things that I'm going to say. But this is part of my spiritual process as well. And this is part of me becoming a more acceptance, kind of human being, and becoming the universe. universalizing, Derek Israel. I'm universalizing my humanness. So I encourage you to do the same. I encourage you to pursue this aim, to actualize this truth. This is your challenge. This is your direct challenge for the Mastermind Podcast Season 2, to learn how to love and accept everything in existence as the universe accept and love it. So I have a suggestion for you now that we are wrapping up. I want you to make a comment below and to tell the community and to myself. I will be obviously reading it and answering it, to tell another problem or another hard truth to swallow that I didn't mention here. I mentioned poverty, I mentioned environmental degradation, racism, corruption. Oh, I didn't mention corruption, but yes, I had corruption also as one of the elements. But we all know that corruption exists in politics, in governments, in institutions, and it's a very bad thing to have. But at the end of the day, the universe also accepts the corrupt politician. So not only accept it, but change that politician if you can, but by acceptance. So I want you to mention one dimension or one area that I didn't brought up in this episode that you think we should be accepting more due to the natural cosmic acceptance of life. All right. So make that comment because I just want to expand the awareness of different problems. And that way we can not only watch the video and the podcast, but by reading the comments, we can seeing different problems that I didn't mention here, and we can meditate upon them. Also, remember that you can support this podcast on Patreon just with $5 per month. So if you are finding a lot of good information here, go and support us. It really helps us to make this work better, more sustainable, and also you will receive special benefits for that support. So the link is in the description. Go to the link below where it says Patreon supporter and explore their options and support us today. And finally, I just want to say that the first step for the universal acceptance is obviously self-acceptance. It's obviously, but as I said in the beginning, it is just the first step. You cannot end there. You need to become universal acceptance. You need to become it. You need to become the universe and the capacity of the universe to accept itself. But to do that, you need to accept yourself first. And for that, if you are having a little bit of struggling for self-acceptance, I encourage you to enroll in my self-love masterclass, in which acceptance is one of the core elements that I discussed in this class. This class is going to be totally in your time, in your own schedule. Everything is pre-recorded, and after buying, you have access for life to all the materials, include a brochure, includes a mini ebook, includes a lot of introspective questions, includes guided meditations, and the end result of this course is total self-love. If you do the work right, if you practice what I will be teaching you. And with this self-love, then you can proceed to universal love. So right now it's only on Spanish, but it will be releasing in English, I think, this week. So it's already translated. It's just a couple of details that I need to work before releasing the the English version, so you have it in both languages. So just check the link below, look for courses in derekisrael.com, and explore the self-love masterclass. And maybe this is your first step to universally love. I see you in the